coming up on today's episode.
So you reckon the system doesn't help them? Even with the home buyers schemes, government grants, you reckon that makes it worse?
That makes it worse. I'm just saying things are going to turn to shit and you should take the opportunities you've got now whilst you've got them.
But what are those opportunities?
Well, buying first home.
With the scheme?
We just saw the stats. You just provided the stats. All of those markets have risen in value because of first home buyers taking the 5% scheme.
But you're saying that's worse for the economy though, because
It is worse for the economy.
But then you're saying keep adding to the economy pressure.
But what's worse for the individual? Yeah, that's why things are getting bad. What's worse for the individual is not to own any assets.
Buy now or wait? In this special debate episode, myself, Joe Agresta, and Will Bell will unpack one of the biggest questions facing first home buyers right now. Is it possible to buy, or are buyers being pushed into panic buying? Before we jump in, I want to quickly frame today's episode properly. This is a debate-style conversation, so Will and I are deliberately taking different sides to unpack the issue properly. Will is arguing the side that first home buyers absolutely can still buy in this market if they have the right strategy, numbers and guidance. I'm taking the other side, not because I personally believe buyers can't buy, but because I'm representing a lot of the concerns, comments and feedback we're hearing from first home buyers right now. Things like affordability pressure, fear of overpaying, media headlines, government schemes, borrowing limits, and the feeling that if you don't buy right now, you'll be locked out forever. To be really clear, we both believe it is possible to buy in this market. This episode is about unpacking both sides so buyers can think clearly, avoid panic decisions, and work out whether buying right now actually makes sense for your situation. Share your feedback in the comments. We'd love to know what side you sit on and where you believe you stand in this market.
I think with all good places to start any argument is setting the scene for what, I have to be honest, what is happening in the market right now. Because we've just had a big budget announcement. It's rattled a lot of the investors or the existing people that have portfolios.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for a first home buyer who's now entering?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd have to say about that is things are hard for first home buyers. They're harder than what they've ever been for first home buyers. And there's so much stuff going on in the news. Like this week, for example, blah, 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 blah. Capital gains this, negative gearing that. It's the budget for first home buyers. Really? Tell me what was in the budget for first home buyers.
I'll tell you. It means that they can buy the stock that's now available that's existing. So in the past, or as of today, if you go into the market and you want to purchase a house, and I'm doing this for argument's sake, right? Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm a first home buyer. I want to go purchase a property today. I want to go to an existing house. Now my budget's up to $600,000. I'm going in the same location that an investor's going into. So where I'm competing is someone who likely has a buyer's advocate, likely has support and a budget to keep going if the auction gets a bit hot. Whereas I'm now stuck as a first home buyer, missing out on yet again another property. Yeah. Now the budget being for first home buyers, I tend to agree, because what it means for them is if investors are no longer able to buy existing property, that means that they have to go and buy, well, realistically, a new house. Now, it's not great for the investor. That's not a great strategy, but for a first-home buyer, absolutely. Now we've narrowed the buying pool down back to just them.
Well, you haven't narrowed the buying pool down for the first-home buyers that were buying the new stock, are you? The ones that could get into the market, of, say, for example, a $40,000 deposit where they would need $60,000, for example, to get into an established home. And I want to push back, and people really get into the weeds on this stuff, and that's what's so confusing for first home buyers, Joe. All of this political stuff, it does nothing. It is all talk, it is all spin. Consistently over a period of decade, property has gone up by 7% and wages have gone up by 3%, and that is why it's hard for first home buyers to get into the market these days. Some people make the argument that, yes, things are tough and you should wait because the shit's about to hit the fan in the market, and wait and there'll be a good opportunity. If I had enough time, I don't, because I would talk all day. I would paint you a picture. I would frame this as in there's going to be no middle class in 20 or 30 years. The opportunities you've got now is to buy assets, is to get into the market, and the future of whatever the future brings is going to be more of that, more 3% wage rises, more 7% property growth. And the longer you wait, even if it's only a few years, it means you're in debt another 3 years later. right now, the first home buyer average age is 36 to 37 years old. You wait till you're 40, you've got a 30-year debt. You're supposed to be retired at 70. You've got no right being in debt at that age, because how are you going to retire? The cost of living doesn't just hurt us, Joe. It hurts people when they're retired.
I think, yeah, I can agree that cost of living is always going to impact that older demographic the hardest, right? Especially if they've got not a big super to retire on. But when you think about retirement, if they've got all these assets, like you're saying, let me play that out.
Yeah.
They don't get the age pension. They've got assets to retire on. They've done smart investing early. And now they're setting themselves up, what you're saying is for the future, right? So they retire and they don't need the age pension. That's all out the window. They've got their assets. They've retired. They've sold down their portfolio. That seems to me like a pretty solid setup. But you suggesting that there's no middle class is very interesting. So does that mean poverty's solved?
Well, if property is going up at 7% per year and wages are going up at 3% per year, just talk to ChatGPT for 5 minutes and then you'll figure it out, right? The family or the person on an average wage will no longer be able to afford a home. And on the way there, they'll extend people into debt. 40 years ago, people weren't in debt at 65.
True.
Right? People were supposed to be retired at 65. When I moved to Melbourne 20 years ago, I remember, Joe, talking to people saying they were going to pay off their house in Melbourne, have a holiday home in Phillip Island. For people not in Melbourne, Phillip Island is a touristy place about an hour and a half out of Melbourne. Have their holiday house and retire at 55 as well. That's not happening for anyone anymore. And all I'm saying is the government are giving you the opportunities as a first home buyer. You should take them, like everyone has since the year 2000 when the first homeowner grant first got introduced. And the reality is that's pushing up house prices. That's pushing everyone out. And I can tell you the economic problem, or what I think is the economic problem, and that is that we don't produce anything and the system is creating money, and that's why you're getting inflation. And so long as the government doesn't actually focus on producing stuff, that 7 to 3% dynamic is going to either remain the same or get worse.
It's interesting. I hear your point. I think where I'm kind of coming from should you buy, right?
Yeah.
Is the fundamental question for home buyers that are getting flooded by the media at the moment. The media message is buy now, don't wait, or it's a one or the other. It's either buy now, don't wait any longer because you're going to get priced out, things are going to happen, or it's the worst it's been to be 35 years old in this country and you can't enter the market.
I get it. And it's disheartening. Like, I have so much empathy for people because I was lucky to be born in this country, because I could have been born in a country with a lot of poverty and have the opportunities that I did to get to where I am today. So I get it. Sorry, what was the question, Joe? I'm off at the fairies.
You're like, hang on, I've got a point.
Yeah, I've got about 10. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. And it's like I can see it ticking over. Like, when am I going to fire up this one? Because I think the question fundamentally is, do you buy now or do you wait? Because the media is telling you one thing, saying, they've got two different scenarios. It's hardest it's ever been to be 35 and in this country buy a house, have a wage, have an income and have a family at the same time. And then on the other end, it's, the house prices are huge. You can't afford it. It's going to be doomsday prepping. And then there's the other narrative of, don't wait, buy now. You should get in while you can before all this crap that the budget's released impacts you in 2027.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to do what you got to do. And what that means is if you're paralyzed by all of this stuff, which I get it, I call it economic quicksand. Since COVID, so much of my audience have basically put their life on hold. And yes, they're upset. They're angry about all of the whatever happened, but that's a part of the paradigm, right? You're worried about all of this stuff and you're stuck and you're paralyzed. What are you going to do? Are you going to do that your whole life? Are you going to be another 3 years old if you're 37 years old now and you're going to be 40 and you're going to be 70 in debt? Because if you do nothing, you're choosing to do nothing. I'm not about dealing with silver bullet answers.
Of course.
I'm about dealing with reality. And the question everyone should be asking is not trying to look at the news or look at what reality is. Look at social media, listen to all these podcasts with influencers telling them what to do. They should be looking at their own life and saying, hey, what do I need to do to make it? Because the last time I checked, unfortunately, being a renter is not a good situation. Getting kicked out of your rental, if you've got young kids or something like that, and then having to go back out into the rental market, and you've seen the queues at some of these places, thinking, shit, what if I don't get into the market? Like, what am I going to do? How long can I live on my mate's couch for before they
kick you out?
Go, right? How long can I, live in a car and, clean my kids in public? Like that prospect is not good. And what I'm saying is we are still in a place where you can take control of your own destiny. And I would say that's the better answer.
So you're saying there's no reason to wait. You should buy.
The only reason you'd want to wait is if you're in a market where you can't afford to live there. So you got to figure out your shit. You got to figure out your stuff, right? Because a lot of people are hanging out in markets where their parents live.
Yeah.
Thinking, maybe I'll just wait. My parents are in a 1.3 million. Maybe I'll just wait and things will get better. Maybe the government will double up on the grant. Maybe this, maybe that. I'm just saying people have to make a better plan, and having a roof over your head, having security is the best way of doing that. I'm not saying there's no downside. I'm not saying there's no risk. On my channel all the time, I'm talking about interest rate risk. There are lots of risks, but last time I checked, if you're doing nothing, you're going backwards in this society. And that is sad for me to say, but it's the truth.
Well, here's where I'm coming from, right? You've got a bunch of home buyers that are being told that it's hard.
Yep.
Now, you're also saying, don't wait. Like, do something about it. Look at your situation. I hear that. What if you don't know how? Because vast majority of Australians have not been taught what that means. They know that they've got a goal to buy a house, right?
Yep.
They've been told by their parents, their grandparents, whoever else, that that's what they did. That's what you need to do. That's the great Australian dream, is owning property. So they know that for some reason in their brain, whether they actually want it or not, I think is a bigger question, because I think a lot of them have been brainwashed by generational behaviour to say that you need to buy. But there's plenty of people that never do and live a good life. They live 20 years and they're renting in the one place, happy. They happen to find the right landlord, someone that wanted to do a long hold. Mind you, I think that's few and far between these days. And with negative gearing that's just come out, I doubt you're going to have a landlord that's going to keep you there for 20 years. That's my opinion. But what I'm trying to get at is it's a scary time that if you don't even know where to start on how to assess your situation, then how do you say, but still go buy something, but you don't know how to assess it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would start by saying we've got all of the information in our hands. One of the interesting things about the age that we live in is people have never been so confused. We threw out all of that for, whether that was on purpose or not. But when you're an adult, you're an adult. You've got to figure this stuff out, right?
True.
Unless you're some rich kid with super rich
trust
parents,
fund.
you can be like Billy Madison or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to do something. That's our audience, Joe.
Yeah.
Right? Our audience isn't rich kids that don't need to do stuff with their life. They want to be normal people. They want to do normal people things. And having security, having a roof over their heads where the landlord just can't, kick them out is one of those things.
But then
it's security. It's a human need.
It's a human need. But then if you look at, let's say, the European model, right? You go to Europe, you go to somewhere like in Italy, perfect example. Majority of their country rent, they don't buy. That's just not in their DNA, Now they're renting, but they have a lot of rental rights. There's a lot of rental protection. They can't just kick someone out after 12 months and say, hey, no, or put up rent very quickly. They're very restricted. Usually their lease terms are 7 years. In most cases, it's minimum 5 years and up. And that's because of the way that country operates. Well, then why wouldn't we start to, and I've seen a lot of people trying to solve this problem for renters who feel like they can never buy property, keep them renting. It's like, let them rent, let them be borderless, let them change address, because it's a lifestyle choice for a lot of people too. Like if they want to move around and have different houses or different locations, they like the flexibility of not being tied down, then home buying's not for you if that's your attitude to it. Talk to me again when you're older. That's Will's point. It's like when you're at retirement age. But
what I would say to that is the situation we've got ourselves in is it's the product of how we're thinking, how we're being governed, right? And different countries will do things differently. There is a supply and demand dynamic going on here where that is just not a thing. If you think governments really care about renters, really care about people having affordable housing, then I suggest you stop listening to whoever you're listening to and just look at some of the data around that, because that hasn't been happening for a long time.
Well, it's interesting you bring up data, right? Because if we go have a look at, Cotality put out a report recently around, I think, some of this data. Let me have a look. I'm going to bring it up on screen. All right. And it's first home buyer scheme. And this is interesting because it's on the first home buyer scheme, fuels competitive tensions at the lower priced end of the housing market.
Yep.
So it says here, properties with an estimated value below the 5% deposit guarantee caps grew 6.7% compared to a 3.6% for high priced homes. And the trend is consistent across all capitals except for WA and NT. So Sydney recorded the largest differential, and the portion of suburbs with a median value below the price caps fell to 11.6% in March, with Darwin recording the smallest portion of suburbs with a median value below the cap at 10.3%. So buyers are facing significant hurdles in interest rate rises and serviceability buffers. And that for me is one of those top reasons why, just buy, but look at the economy and look at the position we're in. If you don't know what you're doing, you're pretty fucked, to be honest, because if you enter into this shit, not having a serviceability, you're not knowing what a buffer is, and we're pushing the narrative of, just buy something. It's going to protect you for your future. If you can't service it, you've just, sorry for lack of a better word, stuffed your future up.
You can't get the loan if you can't service it. But I would say if you don't have the financial education to be able to deal with that, then that's on you. Like if you're an adult, you're an adult. I'm sorry. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but that's everyone's responsibility in the world of adults. We're not kids anymore, Joe. And I'll say again what I said before in a different way. First Home Owner Grant came out in the year 2000. It's morphed, it's changed, it's looked totally different. There's probably been 10 different versions of it. Now it's done in the States. And what I'm saying is part of that government help to help everyone get the market right, to help everyone, means that they're bringing demand forward. These people that could only buy a house in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years' time if they were saving, now get to buy right now. And what that's doing is pushing up those house prices, all of those stats which you just said. So again, what I'm saying is the solutions that we're making aren't actually changing. So the results that are going to come about are not going to change. Last time I checked and looked at the government, whether it was left or right, nothing's really changed.
Fair. All right. But my kind of thing, so on that point of pushing house prices up.
Yeah.
So you've got plenty of other suburbs out there that exist across Australia. Now, here's where I have a fundamental problem with this side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all adults. I'll take your point. I agree. We do have a responsibility to know things. But at the same time, there's also a responsibility of society or maybe our parents or whoever it is that we should have been better informed going into adulthood about what to expect, not learning Pythagoras' theorem that I have not used because I'm not a mathematician or a statistician, so I don't need it. I've never revisited that theory ever again. But now that I know that theory, I didn't know how to do taxes. I didn't even know what a tax was till I found out my boss wasn't paying them in 2014. And then I got a good return. But it was something that I had no awareness of, and not because my parents failed me. I was very aware. I grew up in a family with builders. So I was around property all the time. And the message was always buy house, buy house, buy house. I was just lucky that I went into the real estate game at 18 and started to learn about this shit. I was forced into it, and not forced into it, but my job required me to understand it to be able to sell it. And that set me up fundamentally. But there's vast majority of Aussies who are not in the industry of finance, real estate, property in general, that have no friggin' idea. So now I agree getting into the market. I agree. Get into the market, but don't get in because of fear. Don't get in if you're not mentally ready. And it's a big deal on my part that if you're pushing up prices, how fussy are you being because you need to buy in a certain suburb where mum and dad are? Where mum and dad bought was cheap when they bought there 20 years ago.
Yep.
Now you're trying to buy, it's got to be within 10 minutes of mum and dad. I'm sorry, but no, not in this economy. You're going to have to push out 30 to 45 minutes further from mum and dad to be able to do it.
Like, I totally get where you're coming from. Like, I don't want to seem insensitive here. All I try to deliver is what the truth is. And the truth is, it isn't as easy as what it was before. I come from humble beginnings. Unfortunately, the poorer you are, the harder it is. It's always been this way, but in this situation, it is extremely tough. Look at the shortfall in public housing. It's a horrible indictment of how we've run the country, right? We've let the politicians do whatever they want, and that's fine. But that's a reflection of what every voter has allowed this to become. Let's be honest about that.
But it's better than homelessness. If you think of commission housing being an option, it's not as bad as being on the street. Like if we look at America's economy, they've got way more people on the street than they do in a house.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is the shortfall in housing, like the growing amount of people that cannot
get in
now requiring help from the government. And what's happening is paradigm where we're not producing and we're pushing incomes up, which means we're pushing expenses up. It means it's costing the taxpayer more for the government to build and supply affordable housing to the people that need it the most.
But what I'd argue with that, or what I argue to that is how much of that is by our fussiness, right? Because I know plenty of buyers that have a preference for a very specific suburb. When you make the decision to buy mentally, like maybe you're single or you're with a partner, let's say a partner situation, you both get together and say, we should buy something. We got some savings. Let's do something with it. Now, all of a sudden, the conversation becomes about lifestyle. Where's work? Where's mum and dad? Or where's, my family members or my mates? Where's all of my points of interest? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, the purchasing does not become about you and what you need. Like, it's all about you and what you need, of course. But now we've got a very strict minimal criteria where you are buying where it's popular, where it's high priced, where whatever you buy in that suburb, you wanted a house, you wanted 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car. I feel like we need to throw out the term first home buyer. I hate it because it sets you up mentally for this utopian property that's perfect, that does not exist, that hits all your 10 out of 10s. I think we need to throw it in the bin, and it needs to be starter homes. Buy your starter home because it puts and lowers the pressure of what you're purchasing. Yeah. Because I think buyer, and I just see this with everyone that I've met that's a first home buyer, they're hung up on where they want to live. Fair enough. It's like, but I have money and I need to invest that properly. You are pricing yourself out. You are making your indecision to buy harder. I argue that they are making it harder on themselves because there's zero flexibility to move. There's strategies to this. What's wrong with rent vesting? If you don't want to compromise on the location because your parents are there, fair enough, or your workplace is 10 minutes nearby. I don't disagree. That's all convenient. You can't afford it, and you're not going to live on 2-minute noodles for the rest of your friggin' life, and you're not going to put that house back on the market. It's unrealistic. So what you do, rent there, buy in a country area that's going to be going up in the market properly, and buy there. Yep. And make a strategy that works for both your lifestyle and your future retirement. And that's how I'd argue that compromise. Because yes, you can buy, but you shouldn't just be buying shit in areas that you can't afford, where then it means that your way of living is impacted. And then the future of how you live in that property, ultimately it ends up back on the market at a loss. Yeah. And then that's not a good thing either. You end up back at square one once again, whether you break even or don't break even, you're basically stuffed. So I fundamentally disagree that people should be getting in for the sake of getting in, and you've got to lower your expectations in what you're buying and where you want to buy it, because you got to buy properly. So I don't disagree. Buy, 100% buy. Asset wealth is going to be the key to unlocking your wealth, your security, your future, your children's future, whatever you want to do, but don't buy for the sake of it.
Yeah.
You got to buy properly.
Yeah.
And that's where professionals come into this picture, where I'm kind of pissed off with the government on a different end. Why don't we have a system like the US, where it is normal to have a buyer's advocate, where it is normal to have a professional purchasing for you? and arguing with the real estate agent on your behalf to get you a better price, to get you a better deal, to make sure your terms are correct, to make sure you know what you're buying. I argue that buyers out there who don't want to use professional services are not serious about buying their home. They're going to screw themselves because that's how they've been taught to buy property from mum and dad, from grandma and grandpa, whatever your situation is.
Well, I think we live in a very complex world right now, Joe. Like, that's what it, like everyone I talk to is just getting narky about the way things are. But I think, like, you go back to people that don't want to, like, they want to buy in a particular place, and like, I appreciate that. But I kind of feel like this is a process. It's a process on the generation of the public, or however you want to put it. It's a process of going back to the mindset and the expectations of what actually was. You got to remember, we went through almost 30 years. Well, we went through almost 30 years of no recession. We didn't get to recession in the GFC because we printed so much money to avoid the recession. But what that has conditioned us to do is just think we can get what we want. And you look back through Australia's history, and that we come from a place of battlers. But if you look around the world, that's what it is. You just don't grow up and get what you want. You have to adjust. You have to work for the life that you want. You just can't go to the bank and borrow it and have the dream home and everything's hunky-dory. And yeah, I don't want to sugarcoat anything. That is not for everyone. That is for some people, but I would argue maybe 5 or 10% of everyone.
Where do you think the solution is, right? So, like, what's the answer? Like, buy now or wait? Like, should they buy? Are you saying that home buyers should buy? Not can they? Should they in today's economy?
Yeah. I would be sitting there and going, well, how long can all of whatever this is that we're living through go on for? And how old am I going to be? Like, put the ball back in your court and say, well, I've got to make a decision. Do I stop? And when do I go again? Like, if we wait for 5 years, what do I keep on waiting? Am I going to be 45?
I don't think, I'll say this, right? I don't think you wait in the sense of it depends what your waiting reason is. This is how I'm going to say it.
Yep.
If you're waiting for a market to shift, don't do that. I fundamentally disagree with that, because if you have a crystal ball, please tell all the professionals out there in this industry what's going to happen, because we don't know it ourselves. We did not expect the budget to go the way it did. And now we're here hearing about it, talking about it, it's changing things, and we still don't even know all the details of what's going to go through, if it's going to go through. We just know that it's been announced and it's panicked a lot of existing investors. So don't wait for the reason of something will change, the government's going to do something, this scheme's going to come out, and close to election time we're going to see all of the campaigns of whatever they're going to promise to get your vote, and then see what changes post whoever gets voted in. If you're waiting because you're mentally not prepared, or your budget's not allowing for it, or your serviceability, and I'm talking about that you have not gone on a calculator on realestate.com and used the mortgage choice calculator. I'm talking about you've spoken to a broker and they've given you a plan. So if you've gone to someone like Will, and Will said, listen, guys, it's looking good, but you got to give it another 3 months. Build this up or try this out, or adjust your expectations on where you buy. And that's a big thing for me is, are you honestly not able to buy, or are you being fussy about where you want to buy? And I have 10,000 examples of this. I've got another mate of mine who came to me and said, I want to buy very specifically in Rowville. And I said, why Rowville? Oh, it's close to my family. I like the area. And I said, right, what's your budget? 450,000. And I said, and what do you want to buy? I'm happy with a unit or a townhouse. Okay, at least there's some realism there. And I said, so if you're going to buy one of those two things, how long are you holding the house for? Oh, no, this is just temporary, like probably a couple of years, 3 years. And I said, so then what do you plan to do? Oh, then I plan to upgrade and get a bigger house. Okay, does Rowville's market allow you to do that? Is the capital growth there? Oh, I have no idea. Okay, let me have a look. No. Yeah. It's not going to move the way you think it is. Holding it for 3 years. You can hold it for 6 to 7. You can hold it above 7, even better. You might see that return. If the market does something different, I don't know what to tell you. The budget announcement, investors buying those properties and being a buyer type for you in the future. I don't know if they're there. They're probably not there. So you're going to have to appeal to the first home buyer again, or the owner-occupier buyer. And that's where I see all these investments being a problem. I also see the fussiness being a problem. So what I said to her was, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you move further out? For that budget, you go down to Bendigo Way, or you go down to Morwell to Elgin Way. Now, I'm going to tell you a fact about Morwell. It's had 17% growth in 8 months. It's got a low socioeconomic demographic, right? It's like the C for decile score is sitting at like 3. So it means that the affluence levels there are not as high. But you can buy a house on 700 metres square of land for around 300,000 with 3 bed, 2 bath, 2 car. Why can't you live there? Oh, it's shit there.
Yeah.
But it's had 17% growth. You want to stay there for 2-3 years. Could you sacrifice 2 to 3 years?
That's what I'm saying about this is a process.
Mm.
This is a process about people having to readjust. And this is why people are so angry, because they think I can have that. I've got the expectations from 5 or 10 years ago. And then the last 5 years is realigning. They're like, this is not possible for me. Now I'm upset, and now I'm angry, and now I'm disappointed. That's fine. I get that. But that's exactly what I'm saying, Giles. I'm saying you've got to understand the environment, understand the world you're living in, and then make decisions. Now, to get there, I think the average person, well, a lot of the average people, it's a process. They're going to have to keep butting their heads against the wall. The economy is not going to get any better.
Well, true. But then if you look at resources, like why do professionals like us have this information in our back pocket? Outside of being in the industry, we have subscriptions. We have data at our fingertips that we pay for, or that we pay some sort of membership fee and we get access to.
Yeah.
We have the information available. So I'm able to, as a professional buying for myself or helping a mate out, I can just punch in some information and I've got all the data and I can tell you that suburb's pretty good. That suburb's not doing too great. That suburb's trending down. That suburb's trending up. But I've got access. Now, as an average everyday person, if I'm not using a professional, I don't even know, like getting educated is one thing, but it's like, okay, I go out and buy 3 subscriptions. I go buy an RP Data Totality subscription so I can start reading these reports and doing my own property analysis and seeing what all these professionals do. I get access to an average valuation report so I can see the approximate amount that the house is worth. I got access to, let's say, a price finder application to do the same thing, to see the suburb averages, to see the data there. And maybe I get a hotspotting membership. So Hotspotters membership is open to the general public and I can look at suburb data for rental yields. Now, I don't know much about the market. I'm putting myself in the average person's shoes. I don't know what I'm looking at. So this is all great. I've heard it on YouTube. I've heard it on a podcast like this. I've heard it on multiple forums that I should be looking at rental yield, vacancy rates. I still don't know what it means. So I go on ChatGPT. Now what happens is I'm paralysed by the data because I'm learning how to do it. And what buyers are doing now is they're not investing in a professional to go and do it like a buyer's advocate. They're not investing in subscriptions and data points, but they will pay $10,000 to go do a buyer's advocate course to buy for themselves for one investment. They'll back themselves before they pay another person to go and do it for them who's bought more than one property in their time. Generally, a professional buyer's advocate will buy 20 houses in a year, roughly, right? Not even, I'll call it less, 12 to 20 houses in a year.
Yeah.
But you'll back yourself to learn an entire concept. Is that what you're saying, that they're better off doing that than going to pay for a professional to get the help?
Well, I'm not saying that. So what I'm saying is that's a frame of looking at the world. That's that frame I was talking about. We're the information age. Knowledge is power. We can do it all ourselves. Yeah, sure. But what you're saying is, well, if you look at, let's just say wealthy people, for lack of a better term, they've got advisors, right? They pay for information, but they pay for someone to give them the information.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't have this paralysis analysis. So they don't do this economic quicksand sort of stuff, which I talk about on my channel. So yeah, I think that is a difference in the way people view the world. And you're talking about people maybe not being necessarily educated in terms of how do we do finance. I get it, but not everyone is a home buyer in this world. I'm not saying everyone should go out and buy a first home. I'm saying the sort of person that's going to watch this podcast kind of knows already if they can do that or not.
That's true.
Right. They're already backing themselves by investing time into doing it. And Some might be 5 years away, right? And if you're like me, generally you take longer than everyone to do anything, but you get there eventually. They're the sort of people which the system needs to back. And unfortunately, the system's pushing them down.
So you reckon the system doesn't help them, even with the home buyer schemes, government grants? You reckon that makes it worse?
No, it makes it worse. I'm just saying things are going to turn to shit, and you should take the opportunities you've got now whilst you've got them.
But what are those opportunities?
Well, buying a first home.
With the scheme?
We just saw the stats. You just provided the stats. All of those markets have risen in value because of first home buyers taking the 5% scheme.
But you're saying that's worse for the economy, though, because
it is worse for the economy.
But then you're saying keep adding to the economy pressure.
But what's worse for the individual? Yeah, that's why things are getting bad. What's worse for the individual is not to own any assets.
But does it always have to be property? Can't we look at other assets?
So, for example, if you want to look at negative gearing and capital gains, what's great for the individual is to buy all the houses, but it's not good for the economy. It's not good for the society. When you say economy, people get confused. Society is a much better way of putting it.
Yeah.
You're keeping people out of a home. And really, that's what we're doing. That's the policy decisions we're making as a country, and we've been making them for a long time now. And there's no reason why we shouldn't. Got all the oil, we got all this. You hear people complaining about it all the time. It is true, though.
But if you like we looked at, like you said, we looked at the deposit scheme, it's putting pressure on the economy.
Yeah.
Are you saying buy anyway, or are you saying buy properly? Like everyone should buy or not?
Well, when you say buy properly, like what does that even mean? Like if you're buying, of course you should buy properly, right? I'm not telling people to buy it wrongly.
Yeah, yeah, but what I'm getting at is where I think they're talking about capital cities and some regional, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of data missing from that totality side that's not reported on. What I'm getting at is I agree. If you can buy and you got pockets for it and you have someone in your corner, I think starting with a good broker is number one.
Like you can cross the lines where you go properly, but then it's like, well, that's my opinion of what properly is.
Yeah, it's all relative, right?
Yeah, mine's like just get into the biggest dump you can that's the easiest to live in, and then work your way up because you're going to have the less debt. But
okay, so now we're getting...
Other people might be in a position where they're like, wow, I'm a doctor with 3 years experience and my income's going to go up 100 or 150 grand in the next few years. Well, you have the capacity to back yourself. But what's missing when we talk about society and economy is the individual. And at the end of the day, the individual's got to take some responsibility as to what the right moves are for them. So whilst I could say, well, that's wrong for someone because they've got too much debt, at the same time, they're bloody well backing themselves, right? And there's something I respect about that as well.
Of course, and we all love, like you said earlier, it's the Aussie battler, right? That's the story. We love it, you know, to see someone come from rags to riches or bad situation to they've worked hard and that's what I want for the economy, the society as well, right? Like I would love to see everyone get into the market at some point. Would I like to see everyone get into the market buying without help? Like Finder put out a survey and said that 45% of home buyers regret their purchase. Are you joking? That was last year in 2025 that survey went through. 1,001 people were surveyed about that. 45% regret buying. So the argument of just buy something, they're regretting it. And the mixture of answers that came back with, they felt like they overpaid. Some did overpay. They felt like they were pressured. They felt like they had to be quick.
Yeah.
And all this stuff that gets pushed out from media and from any other outlet, podcast influencers, whoever the hell you listen to, even us, right? It's the pressure of buying. That's where I'm like, no, hold on a minute. I think you need to look at 3 things to make your decision properly. Where are you buying? What is your actual budget after talking to a broker, not an online calculator? And what asset is it? Yeah. And is it the right asset? Because property, that's not the only asset class that's going to unlock wealth for you. Heaps of people do this with crypto, with franking credits, with like a whole suite of different asset classes. You just got to get educated on what one works the way you want it to. Yeah. Property is the fundamental one that we've been taught about, that we know a little bit about from our parents, and we know that it's secure.
Yeah, that goes to a broader question, which is a personal economic question. It goes back to I said property goes up at 7%. Guess what? So do stocks. So do all other assets because of the way the money system works.
Yeah.
But that's not what this talk is about.
No. So let me argue back.
We're getting into something broader, which I've got all there for that.
I got time. Sit down. I got time. But going back to property,
yeah,
I'll look at it this way. There's assets within property. You got units, you got townhouses, apartments, and then you got a house by itself, a standalone property. And then you can go down the path of brand new house, like house and land packages, land only, commercial. Now, what I'm looking at is if I had money to invest today, where am I investing it? Am I buying a property to live in? Am I buying an investment? Am I rent vesting, or am I doing shared housing, co-living? There are way too many options that exist now as opposed to what existed back when our parents did it. Back when our parents did it, there was an apartment, there were probably units, and there were houses, and there was land, and then a house and land concept. Now you got these new ways of making money, these new asset classes, and you can make money faster. You can positively gear from day one. Yep. And this is the stuff that's getting fed from into your news feeds that confuses and further. I'd argue that social media, while it's a wonderful thing for information and for the right forums to, influence people, get businesses going, like this is why we're doing part of this, is to spread a message and influence others. But at the same time, it's the devil, right?
Yeah. Well, it's that filter of information again, isn't it? Like
there's all
of these, but that's why you've always, because you're going to go around and around in circles. I'm doing it in AI right now, how to figure stuff out.
Oh, hell.
It fills your head, but what you got to do is just go back and go, actually, what am I trying to do?
Yep.
Right. What am I trying to do? Because all of that confusion is going to leave you with anxiety. It's going to have you like throwing your hands up, exasperated. If I don't even know if that's a word, right? You got to stop and take a breath and go, what am I trying to do? Because there's a whole buffet of stuff here. What do I want? And then I'll figure out what I want and go for it. Because I get what you're saying. There's all these other right decisions, but yeah, that's going to lead people to a point of confusion. And that's a part of this problem.
But that's going to exist no matter what, right? The confusion will be there because we're social beings. So the way we're wired is to think and to overthink and to question exactly what is right and what is wrong. And listening to certain advice is where it gets confusing. It's like, I trust my circle, so I'll trust the advice they give me. Might not be the right advice, but I know these people, so I'm just going to organically trust it. But then some professional that someone else referred or that I saw online, something makes me skeptical about it, and now I don't trust it. But this is the person that's done this for 20 years, for 15 years, and I'm arguing with the information they're telling me and the information my good friend's telling me, and I don't have a reality on what's true or false, and I don't know how to make that distinction or decision to go, is this, well, what do I listen to? And then I've got the media slapping me on top of that with, oh, it's the you can't buy right now, you're never going to be able to buy, get in now, don't get in now. And all of it is noise. I argue that without social media, we're almost better off because you got to think about how our parents would have purchased. They would have seen the newspaper, they would have seen a for sale sign, they would have looked at their bank account or their cash and said, we can do it, and gone and purchased. And it's very minimal influence.
Yeah.
There was no influence. There was not much information where they didn't have data points. There was no trends. There was word of mouth. It was so-and-so bought a house over there and they made this much money. You should do the same thing. There was no fact checking. It was just, oh yeah, that seems accurate.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that less information is better, but from a mind of where it's confusing, of course we're confused. Of course it's a confusing time to be in because we have everything at our fingertips, and I think that's worse. I think we almost need to be limited in what we see. That's why I think good old-fashioned professionals, be good old-fashioned professionals, what would they do? If they didn't see it in the paper, they'd go to the local real estate agency. They'd go, hello, how you going? I'm looking to buy a house. They'd go look at the wall of photos of the printed out pictures. That was realestate.com. It was just physical. And they'd go, that one looks nice. Can you take me for a visit? And they'd go visiting houses.
Yeah.
Now, it's a simpler time. Society's moved on. I'm not trying to go back to, caveman times where we're like, let's etch it in, stone. Yeah. But my point being is you're saying there's a lot of information out there. We have no reason not to know anything. But I'd argue different. I'd say that's the exact reason we don't know anything, because what is right and what is wrong and what's true and what's false.
Well, there's I'm not saying we should know everything. I'm saying we should apply a filter as to what.
But how do you know what's right and wrong?
Well, you got to do the work.
But then who is right and wrong?
And you've got to be prepared to make a decision where you could be wrong, right? And Again, that gets into psychology because some people aren't good at making decisions.
I think where I'm coming from.
Some people have to be right the whole time.
I think where I'm coming from it from a sympathy perspective for these buyers in particular.
Yeah.
Because I have a whole heap of sympathy for owner-occupiers, right? And it's the market I've always played in. I'd love everyone to buy a home. I would love them not to buy the wrong type of home. And I'd argue, like, if I look at apartments and saying, just buy something, get in the market. Cool, I'm going to go buy that apartment because realistically in this market at the moment, that's all I can afford, right? At 500,000-ish in a suburb that I really, really must live in, which I'd argue, as you know.
Yeah.
But you need to live there. You need to live in Patterson Lakes, right? You go buy your apartment at 500,000. Now, what I would say is when you look at the sales history for most apartments, they have not gone up in value in 5 to 7 years. They typically hold the same amount. You're not getting an asset that is working for you. So if you get a loan out at 90%, 90% rate, that is going to be extremely hard because you're going to have to wait until the right market, which God knows what is right market. We don't have that crystal ball, but you're going to have to take a punt in 5-6 years when you've outgrown that apartment, especially if you're in your mid-30s and that's the first asset you buy and you decide that you get a partner. Maybe you bought that when you were single, you get a partner. Now you want kids. Now it's a thing and you both can't afford to buy now in the location that you're enjoying. Now how do you grow that?
But you're overthinking because that's the future with a billion possibilities. Yeah, it's a fact that the future can have a billion possibilities.
No, but it's a fact on the asset. The asset doesn't grow.
I'm dealing with people all the time that are doing that, Joe, right? I bought a house or whatever as a single person. Now we're a couple, we want something bigger. Now, we've got 2 kids, we want something bigger. Now we've got 2 kids, we want to buy in the school zone. Yeah, I get it that you can buy the wrong or right asset. I'm not arguing that you can buy a dud property.
But I'm saying minimize the chance.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I guess I look at it from a different angle because there's so many possibilities you do your head in, right? So when it comes to actually buying a house, generally the mortgage broker is a good port of call because the broker is going to go, yeah, you can borrow this much. And then the person's going to go, well, what can I buy with this much? Oh, cool, that's other within what I want to buy. Like it's a place where you get, generally you go and you're like, oh, now I've got some concrete information. Not all of this other information where old mate at the barbecue is telling me what I should do and this person's telling me something else and this well-meaning family member is scaring the crap out of me, right? Generally, the mortgage broker is actually the first point of solid information. Why? Because they're looking at your actual position and they're going, well, this is your actual options based on what the lenders are going to do in whatever situation.
I agree with that though, hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely, I can't disagree with that.
Well, again, that's your filter on information, isn't it?
But that's what I'm saying.
You're going from something that's a bit more abstract to way less abstract. It's like, okay, now I know I can do that.
Yeah. But then
figuring out what to buy is different. That's where a Bodie or buyer's agents or other professionals come into play. I get that. But I guess what I'm saying is people listening to this content can I do the same stuff with economic stuff. I just listen to the same stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, why am I listening to this stuff? I already know this now. I'm an expert in this.
I think why people listen though is because it is a scary time. You absolutely are allowed to buy. I'm just saying don't buy the wrong way and don't buy the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And don't act because you have to act because there's a pressure from either media, government, mum and dad, a family or a friend, or just the fact that it's a nice thing to say that you've bought a home because there's a lot of pressure around.
There's a lot of that going on as well. Yeah.
Competing. You've got a friend that's a couple and they've bought a house. My friendship group all did it, right?
Yeah.
They all did it. It was like a carbon copy, one back to back. We all built. Why did we all build?
Yeah.
One of my friends, she was in a longer term relationship than the rest of us. She's been with her boyfriend since we were in high school. She bought a house, she built. Her and her partner moved out. Done. Now they did that. And then 3 years later, me and my partner bought a house, did that next. In the same year, then the last two, my friendship group, bought, moved out. All had kids. I'm the only one that doesn't have kids out of that group. Not by design. Just my business is my baby. So that's what I opted for.
Cries a lot.
Oh, cries a fuckload. But I opted for that. But that's what I'm saying is things go in waves and there's pressure points and patterns and expectations that are either set by what society tells you to do, what your family does, or your friends.
Yeah, I get it. And that's
not the right reason.
Well, I'm not that person either. And that's why, I do the data kind of drives me crazy, but at the same time, it tells me a story of what the truth is about the outside world and then allows me the power to, for me, this is the way I feel, I'm not saying it's the same for everyone else. It allows me to be empowered to make those decisions. If anyone wants some of the data I speak of, I've written a report on the state of the economy and all of that. It goes pretty deep. All of the fun stuff, it's out there. So,
but it's all in the name of education, Will. Like we'll link it in the bottom of the show notes on Spotify here and in YouTube.
They're facts. Now I've taken a narrative out of that, and I'm posing a reality, a story of the world as to what I think the truth is. People are free to disagree with me. Like I like this sort of stuff because, as I said, understanding the world allows me to feel really comfortable and it empowers me to make decisions. So when I'm wrong, it's just an opportunity for me to go, all right, well, this is what I got wrong. This is exciting. Why did I set that up? You know what I'm saying?
I think I get you. And look, I come from this, like I've got a Bodhi, which is all about helping home buyers. It's a mobile app and I'm working with brokers specifically like yourself to solve that problem of misinformation, wrong buying without data and not having to buy with all the expensive tools of feeling pressured to buy data resources like that. You can rely on professionals that have good tools and good support around them and take benefit of that so you can buy something, without getting it wrong or without just misreading the play. Like there's a reason in our mobile app, like just to plug it very quickly, right? The whole reason that we do property matching instead of giving you a list of 200 properties to select from is because that adds to the decision paralysis of how do you pick out of 200 listings.
Yeah.
We give you 5 like an advocate would to say, well, pick out of these 5, go and inspect 3 of them. Come back the following week and reflect what ones went well for you. Do the process again. We give you limited selection because we've done all the analysis on your behalf and said, here's 5 that look really good, based on you telling me that you have 2 kids, that you got a dog and a cat and you need to be within mum and dad's area, that you need to be close to work. And if the results show nothing, it means your criteria is too strict. And then we give you some clues as to how to expand that search and how to find something that's going to be within reach. And that there's a reason we've done it that way. It's to help you out of that decision paralysis because I believe that buyers aren't buying because there's too much information and there's too much to get wrong and they won't buy.
Yeah, so I'm right.
Yeah, I have to agree. I told you at the start of this, Will, I was going to find it friggin' hard to disagree with you, but I gave it a really good crack, I think.
Yeah,
and
you did good.
And so did you.
I wouldn't have been good on the other side. I would have just been...
I found this really hard.
Probably swearing at you.
I found it so hard.
I resorted to name calling and swearing and general kicking under the table.
Yeah, that's it. We were just beating each other up like by the feet. You can't see it. But honestly, it is a hard question. And I don't doubt like some of the stuff that I mentioned is not a serious concern. Like I said, I came from just things that I absorbed online. But fundamentally, buy properly is my point.
Yeah.
Buy the right way. Just do some research and I think a tool like a Bodhi could get you there. I think reading reports like what Will's pumped out or just forums that you trust or people that you align with, that seem to be helping others, that have good reviews that you can see that are client focused, that they do something for their customers, like do the research into the right professionals. When you see a professional that says, I can make you a millionaire in 5 years if you follow my 5-step strategy, book an onboarding strategy session, run.
Yeah.
Like they might be offering something good or take the meeting and learn it and then don't act, just wait.
Yep.
And I think that there's nothing wrong with booking those strategy sessions and hearing what these people have to say, but hear what they have to say. Don't act on it straight away and get sucked into the funnel of all you need to do is give me, $20,000 today and then we're on our way. And we take it out at $1 at a time over a day. You can afford $1 a day over 55 years. Like, don't get sucked into the vortex. Just get the information and go, sounds interesting. Thanks for sharing. Send me some information. I'll think about it. Then go home and talk to mum and dad. Or go, if you don't have parents, go talk to a trusted professional or a good friend and say, what do you reckon of this? I would always say a professional, and I would always say a broker, but not any broker, a good broker, like Will, because it makes a difference. You get one rotten egg, and that we all exist in this market. There's good and bad apples. I always say that. You got to do your due diligence, because often I feel like bad professionals will break deals.
Yep. There you go. Come to me.
Come to me.
Good place to close. I literally have to go.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well,
but I reckon it's a good wrap, good debate.
Good session.
Just let us know who won.
Yeah, in the comments, we would like to know, who do you argue for more? Is it me or is it Will? And what do you want us to argue about next?
Team W or Team J?
And please make me on the better side of the argument next time.
All right.
Yeah, I've got to put Will in the hot seat.
Yeah, okay. Put me in the hot seat.
Thank you. No, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thanks, Will, for battling it out with me.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye.